Imagine a road, just a standard stretch of American asphalt.
Right.
Maybe it's winding through some pine trees up in Maine.
Oh.
You know the type, the white lines, the paved shoulders, that smell of pine needles and exhaust fumes.
Very familiar.
Yeah. Now, populate that exact road with 100 teenage boys.
Just normal kids.
Exactly, normal kids. They're wearing numbered bibs like they're running a local marathon or a 5K or something. But, and this is the kicker, there is no finish line tape waiting for them 5 miles down the road.
No.
There's no specific distance they even have to cover. The premise here is terrifyingly simple. You walk. You walk at exactly 4 miles per hour. You do not stop.
Ever.
Right. You do not sleep. You don't slow down.
Yeah.
Because if you do, you die.
We really aren't speaking metaphorically here. We're not talking about dying on stage or losing a game.
No, no.
In the story we are analyzing today, second place is not a silver medal. It is a literal funeral. This is the brutal, singular engine that drives the entire narrative. It's a competition where there is only one winner. And the prize for that winner is whatever your heart desires for the rest of your life.
Sounds great, right?
Sure. But for the other 99 boys, the prize is a bullet.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we are strapping on our walking shoes. Though, man, as we're going to find out, we probably should have picked them a lot more carefully.
Definitely.
We're here to unpack a story that is honestly one of the most harrowing endurance tests in all of literature. We're looking at The Long Walk by Stephen King.
Yes, but, and this is a really crucial piece of context right off the bat, this book wasn't originally published as a Stephen King novel, was it?
No, it wasn't. And that distinction is vital for setting your expectations as we get into this.
Right.
This book was actually published under King's pseudonym, Richard Bachman.
Right. And if you're a constant reader of his work, you know that the Bachman books have a very, very different flavor profile than King's main body of work.
Oh, absolutely.
If King is, a haunted house with a creepy clown in the sewer,
Yeah.
Bachman is a punch to the gut in a dark alley.
It feels so much nastier, doesn't it? It's just stripped down. There's no magic here. There's no telekinesis.
No supernatural entity feeding on people's fear.
Exactly.
The Bachman voice is deeply cynical. It's gritty, and it is profoundly pessimistic about human nature.
Yeah.
The horror in The Long Walk doesn't come from the paranormal. It comes from the government. It comes from society. And maybe most frighteningly, it comes from the betrayal of the human body.
That's the scariest part for me.
That's a dystopian scenario where the monster is simply the limit of your own endurance and the total indifference of the state.
So our mission today is to really unpack this beast of a text. We aren't just going to sit here and summarize the plot, though. I mean, the plot is incredibly gripping.
It is.
But we want to treat this text as a case study. We're going to look at the actual rules of the road, the specific physiological breakdown that these walkers endure, and the intense psychological warfare that takes place when you put a gun to someone's head and just tell them to keep walking south.
We'll be analyzing the group dynamics, the game theory of those rules, and ultimately, what this story says about our own consumption of suffering as entertainment.
Yeah.
Because, make no mistake, the people watching The Walk in the book, they look a whole lot like us.
They really do. Let's start with the world building, or I guess the rules of the road. What struck me immediately upon rereading this is how incredibly bureaucratic the horror is.
That's a great word for it, bureaucratic.
Right. It isn't chaotic at all. It's incredibly organized. The event is literally just called The Long Walk. It kicks off every single year on May 1st at the Maine-Canada border, and the route just heads south.
They're essentially walking down the entire east coast of the United States.
Yeah. But the mechanic that creates the tension, the thing that keeps you turning those pages, is that very specific speed limit.
4 miles per hour. That is the magic number.
Yeah.
Now, just for some context for you listening, the average human walking speed is usually cited as about 3 to 3.5 miles per hour.
Right.
So 4 miles per hour is a purpose-driven pace. It's a hike. You are pushing slightly. You aren't just strolling around looking at the birds. You are marching.
I actually tried this on a treadmill to get a real sense of it while I was prepping for this deep dive.
Oh, really? How was it?
Well, doing 4 miles per hour for 10 minutes is totally fine. It actually feels pretty good.
Yeah.
But doing it for an hour, you definitely start to feel the shin splints. And the thought of doing it indefinitely, it seems literally impossible.
Because it is designed to be impossible.
Yeah.
And the punishment for dropping below that speed is where the game theory really kicks in.
Right, the warning system.
Yes. It is a masterclass in psychological pressure. The rules state that if you drop below that 4-mile-per-hour threshold, whether you trip, whether you stop to tie a shoe, stop to pee, or just get too tired,
Anything.
you receive a warning. You then have exactly 30 seconds to get your speed back up over the limit.
30 seconds.
30 seconds. And you are only allowed 3 of these warnings total.
But the insidiousness is in how you get rid of them, because you can clear your slate.
You can, but the cost is insanely high. To burn off just one warning, you must walk for 1 full hour without receiving a fresh one.
So imagine the mental math going on in these kids' heads. Let's say you have 2 warnings.
You're on the edge.
You are 1 slip-up away from death. You have to walk perfectly. No stumbling, no slowing down for any reason for 60 straight minutes just to get back to a safety buffer of 1 warning.
It forces the boys to constantly calculate risk versus exhaustion. Do I stop to adjust my sock right now and take a warning, just hoping I can walk it off over the next hour? Or do I just suffer through the blister?
And if you fail that math, like if you get that 4th warning,
Then you get your ticket.
ugh, that euphemism chills me every single time I read it. Getting your ticket.
It's so passive.
It sounds like a traffic citation. Or like an admission pass to a movie theater.
It's the classic linguistic defense mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
The characters and the society in the book as a whole use this incredibly soft language to mask an atrocity.
Yeah.
Like buying the farm or biting the dust, getting your ticket. But the reality is immediate execution. Exactly. There is a vehicle called a half-track, a heavy military machine with treads that paces the walkers along the shoulder of the road.
Right.
They have highly sensitive electronic equipment monitoring the exact speed of every single walker.
Yeah.
If you get that 4th warning, there's no ceremony. They shoot you dead right on the spot.
And the soldiers on the half-track, they aren't even angry. They aren't these sadistic demons enjoying the kill. They are literally just guys doing a job.
That banality is key to the horror. The soldiers are described as having this terrifying calmness about them. They check their chronometers, they issue the warnings over a loudspeaker, and they execute the walkers with cold military precision.
They're just following orders.
Exactly. And overseeing all of this is the major.
The major. He's the architect of the walk. He feels like a massive celebrity figure in this world.
He does.
He wears these reflector sunglasses so you can never actually see his eyes. He looks like this tanned, fit, ultimate authority figure. And the weirdest, most unsettling part is the boys worship him, at least at the start line.
It's an intense sociological phenomenon. It's almost like a magnified societal version of Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah.
Or identification with the aggressor.
Yeah.
He's the literal man who created the machine that is actively going to kill them, yet when he shows up at the starting line, they cheer for him. They desperately want his validation.
It's so messed up. It's like they are thanking the executioner before he pulls the lever.
It's a brilliant critique of how we view authoritarian power. The major represents the state. And even though the state is actively crushing them, they crave the approval of that figurehead.
Wow.
There's actually a backstory mentioned early on where our protagonist, Ray Garraty, recalls his father being squatted.
Squatted. That's another one of those terrifying, vague terms.
Right. It implies his father was disappeared or taken away by the government for simply criticizing the walk in private.
So the atmosphere isn't just a brutal race. It's a race happening inside a totalitarian version of America where life is cheap, political dissent is lethal, and the long walk is just the ultimate distraction for the masses.
Bread and circuses.
Exactly. So you have to ask, why do it? Why would any sane 16-year-old sign up for this meat grinder? I get that they are teenagers, and teenagers inherently think they're invincible, but still.
The prize. The winner gets the prize, which is defined as literally anything they want for the rest of their life.
Blank check.
Money, power, luxury. It's the ultimate blank check. It is the ultimate carrot dangling in front of a very deadly stick.
But, and this is so crucial to the narrative arc, notice how quickly the concept of the prize just completely evaporates from the conversation among the boys.
Oh, almost immediately.
Right. In the first few miles, they're joking around about buying fancy cars or giant mansions, but by day 3... nobody is mentioning the money.
Exactly. The prize becomes completely abstract. It's too far away to even comprehend. The goal shifts rapidly from wealth to simply survival. The prize just becomes seeing the sunrise tomorrow.
Just one more step. Let's get to that starting line and meet the boys, because we view this whole nightmare primarily through the eyes of Ray Garraty.
Yes, walker number 47.
Maine's own. He's 16, and honestly, he seems woefully unprepared for the reality of what he's about to do.
Garraty is the archetype of the naive volunteer. He represents the audience in a way. He's wearing an old fatigue jacket because he thinks it makes him look tough,
Yeah.
military. But look at the interaction with his mother at the start line. It's just heartbreaking. She is terrified. She's pressing cookies into his hands. She's whispering to him because she's legitimately afraid the squads are listening in the crowd.
She knows.
She knows exactly what this machine does to young boys. Garraty, however, has that classic teenage sense of immortality. Deep down, he doesn't truly believe he can die.
Well, that illusion lasts about 10 minutes on the road. We really have to talk about the first casualties, because that is when the genre of the story violently shifts from a weird adventure to an outright slaughter.
Yes.
The first boy to go down is Curly, number 7.
And Curly's death is so tragic,
Yeah.
precisely because it is so mundane. He doesn't die because he's weak-willed. He doesn't die because he's cowardly. He gets a Charlie horse.
A leg cramp.
Just a leg cramp.
Which is something literally every single person has experienced. You wake up, your calf is locked tight, it hurts like hell, you hop around for a minute, you rub it, and it goes away.
Exactly. But you cannot hop around and massage a cramp while maintaining 4 miles per hour.
No.
The scene is so visceral. He's screaming. He's trying to run on a knotted, locked-up leg. He gets his warnings rapid fire. 1, 2, 3. And the description of the execution is brutal. The text says his head disappears in a hammer smash of blood and brains.
It's incredibly graphic, but it feels narratively necessary. It completely shatters the denial of the other 99 boys. You can instantly see the ripple effect in the text.
The whole dynamic changes.
They just go dead silent. They realize, oh God, this isn't a game.
And almost immediately after that brutal wake-up call, we get the lesson of the sneaker.
Ah, Ewing. This is the boy named Ewing. He's black, he looks very athletic, but he's wearing Kiev Flyers, just basic canvas sneakers.
It is a fatal error in equipment. Anyone who hikes or runs distance knows you absolutely do not wear thin canvas shoes for a long trek.
It's suicide.
The road punishes him instantly. He gets severe blisters within the very first few miles. And by the time he's ultimately eliminated, the text describes him as basically walking in his own pus.
It's so gross.
It is. But it forces the reader to look at his feet. It's a stark reminder that nature and physics do not care about your personal backstory or your grit. If your feet biologically fail, you die.
And while all this horror is unfolding right there on the asphalt, the sides of the road are lined with people. The spectators. Honestly, this was the part that made me the most uncomfortable reading it.
It definitely should, because the spectators represent us, the reader, the audience consuming the media.
Yeah.
At first, down by the border, the crowds are quite festive. They have handmade signs like, "Go, go, Garraty." It feels like watching the Tour de France or a local parade.
Right.
But as the walk drags on into the night and the next day, and the boys visibly start to deteriorate, the crowd's energy shifts dramatically. They become frenzied. They aren't there to see a winner anymore. They're there to see the losers.
There are literally moments where the crowd is screaming for action, which is their sick code for, we want to see someone get a ticket. Bachman uses these chapter headers from real game shows like The $1 Million Pyramid or The Gong Show to really drive this theme home. The walk is, at its core, entertainment.
It is the ultimate fatal reality TV. There's a very specific, chilling detail in the text where a spectator is casually eating a sandwich while watching a teenage boy get his brains blown out on the asphalt.
That is so messed up.
That juxtaposition perfectly highlights the total disconnect between the consumer of violence and the victim of violence. It's voyeurism completely weaponized.
It really is.
Yeah.
Now, Garraty somehow manages to find a tribe in the middle of all this madness, a core group of walkers who generally stick together, and this group becomes our main lens for examining the different psychological strategies people use to survive trauma.
Yes.
I think the most fascinating relationship has to be the one between Garraty and Peter McFreeze.
McFreeze is a highly complex figure. He has this prominent scar on his cheek, which heavily hints at a violent or traumatic past before the walk. He is cynical, he's highly intellectual, and he has a much darker worldview than Garraty.
Definitely.
But he forms a bond with Garraty that completely defies the logic of the game they are playing. Remember, this is a strict zero-sum game. For McFreeze to survive and win, Garraty must die. There's no sharing the podium.
Right.
Yet repeatedly throughout the story, McFreeze actively saves Garraty's life.
He does. He shakes him awake when he starts to doze off while walking. He warns him to pick up the pace when he's lagging. He literally physically drags him by the shirt at one point. It feels, I don't know, it feels incredibly self-destructive.
It is self-destructive. McFreeze seems to be deeply struggling with a death wish. He is essentially waiting for Garraty to fail. He scolds him, he mocks him constantly, but he absolutely refuses to leave him behind.
Why do you think he does that?
It introduces this pure altruism into a scenario that was specifically designed by the state to strip it away. McVries is rebelling against the rules of the walk by stubbornly retaining his humanity, even if he knows it will ultimately cost him his life.
Wow, that's powerful. And then you have Stebbins, the ultimate mystery box of a character.
Stebbins is the outlier of the group. He wears purple pants and a chambray shirt, a very specific, weird visual that makes him stand out from everyone else in their fatigues and running gear.
Yeah.
He walks at the very back of the pack, the drag position, and he's just calmly eating jelly sandwiches. He barely speaks to anyone for days. But very early on, he leans in and whispers to Garraty, "I'm gonna win."
He's so creepy.
Yeah.
Because he's just so impossibly calm. While everyone else is panicking, crying, or desperately trying to make friends to stave off the fear, Stebbins is just observing. He's just doing the math in his head.
He is playing a completely different game than the rest of them. He is the only boy who seems to truly know what is actually coming down the road.
On the other end of the spectrum of humanity, we also have Art Baker, the Southern boy.
Baker represents the absolute tragedy of innocence in this story. He's unfailingly polite, he's soft-spoken, he talks about wanting a lead-lined coffin if he dies so the radiation won't get him or so he'll be perfectly preserved.
Right, the coffin talk.
He doesn't have some dark, gritty secret. He's just a genuinely nice kid who got caught in the machinery of this world. His presence in the group really emphasizes that the walk kills the good and pure just as indiscriminately as it kills the bad.
And speaking of the bad, Gary Barkovich, I think every single reader hates this guy instantly.
Barkovich is the clear antagonist among the walkers themselves. His strategy for survival is pure, weaponized psychological irritation. He taunts people about their backgrounds. He insults their mothers. He pokes at their sexual insecurities. He actually calls it the plan.
He literally thinks he can annoy the other boys to death.
Essentially, yes. He believes he can actively drain their physical energy by provoking them into anger and shouting matches. And honestly, for a while it works. He disrupts their focus.
He gets in their heads.
He really does. But Barkovich ultimately represents the failure of the hate strategy. By doing this, he completely isolates himself. In a situation where shared trauma is the absolute only comfort available, Barkovich chooses to be an island.
And then there's Hank Olson. Man, Olson starts out with so much swagger. He's cracking jokes. He tells everyone, walking is my game. But his decline, that is the first really long, slow horror we witness in the book.
Olson's arc is entirely about the disintegration of the ego, followed by the disintegration of the body. He starts out incredibly cocky, but he physically breaks down faster than almost anyone in the core group.
It's shocking how fast he goes.
He becomes what the text explicitly describes as a zombie. He walks for hours and hours in a completely catatonic state. He's drooling down his shirt, his posture collapses so much that his spine is visibly sticking out.
He's gone.
He has completely checked out of reality, but his legs just keep moving on pure primitive reflex. This leads us directly into the darker phase of the book, section 4 of our dive, the descent. Because the book spends a lot of time, pages and pages, just describing the physical toll. It's not just, oh, they got tired and sat down. It's intense body horror.
It is deeply, unforgivingly biological. King, or Bachman, rather, obsesses over the state of their feet. They swell up so much that they literally don't fit in their shoes anymore. Boys are cutting their shoes open.
Garraty describes having migraines in his feet. What a phrase.
It perfectly captures the throbbing agony. The blisters break, they bleed into their socks, they dry up, and then they tear open all over again. And then there is the profound hunger.
Right.
They're given these concentrate pastes by the soldiers, these little tubes of high-calorie, tasteless goo, but their psychological cravings are for real, solid food.
There is that specific crazy detail about the raw hamburger. Garraty just starts intensely fantasizing about eating raw ground beef. Yes, he wants raw meat. It vividly shows the psychological regression to a primal, animalistic state.
Yeah.
The civilized human palate is entirely gone. The body just recognizes a desperate need for protein, iron, and blood.
Yeah.
And then on top of the pain and hunger, there is the humiliation.
Yeah.
We have to touch on this because the book absolutely does not shy away from it. You have to go to the bathroom on the road.
It's the ultimate degradation. I mean, you have to squat. You do not stop walking. You literally defecate while moving forward at 4 miles per hour, while massive crowds of cheering strangers watch you do it.
It creates a sense of total, inescapable exposure. It is a systematic stripping away of every ounce of human dignity. The walk reduces you to a beast of burden. You are no longer a person. You are just biology moving down a road.
Which brings us back to the end of Hank Olson. We watched him turn into that zombie we talked about, but his actual death scene is, man, it's one of the most grotesque, haunting moments in the entire story.
It is the terrifying moment the boys realize that the human body can keep pushing forward long, long after the mind is completely gone. Olson finally collapses, but he isn't just shot immediately while lying there. He tries to get back up. He grabs his abdomen, and the text describes him literally holding his own intestines.
God.
It is a moment of pure, abject biological failure. For the other boys, seeing Olson, who was so loud and so tough at the start, holding his guts on the asphalt, it signals the absolute end of sanity.
And what about Berkovich, the guy with his brilliant plan?
Irony catches up with him in the worst way. His plan to outlast everyone through pure hate eventually just eats him alive from the inside out. He goes completely mad.
He does.
The psychological poison he was spewing at the others turns inward. He ends up tearing his own throat out metaphorically in his madness and literally with his hands.
Yeah.
He destroys himself because he completely cut himself off from the group's emotional support.
Amidst all this horrible death, though, there is one moment that actually feels noble, I guess, and that's the death of Scram.
Yes.
Scram is the odds-on favorite to win the whole thing. He's huge, he's simple-minded in a good way, he's incredibly strong, but he gets pneumonia.
A simple virus. Again, random chance dictates fate. It's not about who is the fittest. It's about who doesn't get sick. But Scram's exit from the walk is profound. He knows his body is failing and he is dying.
Yeah.
He has a young pregnant wife named Kathy back home. And the remaining boys, Garraty, McVries, the core group, they realize Scram is doomed. So they do something incredible. They make a pact.
This is the Long Walk Trust. They basically agree that whoever wins, whichever one of them actually survives this hell, will send money to support Scram's wife and baby.
It's an act of collective defiance against the state. They're literally fighting a zero-sum game to the death, but they pause to ensure the future of a competitor's child.
It's beautiful in a really dark way.
Scram accepts this. He thanks them sincerely, and then he simply sits down. He sits down with Mike and Joe, two Hopi brothers, who also just decide to quit the game right there, and he faces his execution on his own terms.
It's the only time any of them exercise real agency. They choose exactly when and how they are going to die.
Exactly. They take back a tiny piece of control.
But as we get further and further down the road, we're talking days of non-stop walking now, crossing into Massachusetts, the secrets finally start to come out. And the biggest, most shocking one comes from Stebbins.
This is the revelation phase of the narrative. Very late in the book, Stebbins finally opens up and talks to Garraty and McVries. He reveals exactly why he is really there. He is not just some random walker from the lottery.
Wow.
He is the Major's illegitimate son.
That twist, it changes the entire texture of the story.
It fundamentally rewrites everything.
Yeah.
Stebbins calls himself the Rabbit. If you know dog racing, they use mechanical rabbit on the track to make the dogs run faster. Stebbins genuinely believes he was put into the walk by his father, specifically to be that pace setter, to force the other boys to their absolute physical limits.
But his personal motivation is just so twisted and sad. He wants to win to force his father to actually acknowledge it.
Exactly. He thinks if he wins, the man who created this literal death machine will have to finally embrace him as a true son in front of the whole country.
It's so tragic.
It reframes the Major entirely. He goes from being this distant, cool dictator to a deeply cruel father figure who is willing to sacrifice his own flesh and blood just for the purity of the walk.
Yeah.
It makes the whole game feel rigged. It turns a dystopian sci-fi premise into a really sick family drama played out with body bags.
And as this revelation really sinks into the group, they just keep dwindling. We lose Art Baker. And eventually we lose McVries, Garraty's savior. He can't go on anymore.
McVries' resignation is incredibly quiet, which makes it hit harder. He has spent so much of his own vital energy keeping Garraty alive, he just physically gives up. He sits down on the road.
Yeah.
And for Garraty, this is the final crushing emotional blow. The one person who anchored him to reality, who acted as his protector, is gone. Garraty is effectively totally alone now, even though Stebbins is still walking next to him.
And that brings us to the end game. It is finally down to just the final two, Garraty and Stebbins. The massive crowds are gone, or at least Garraty's mind is so broken he can't perceive them anymore. He is hallucinating wildly.
His mind is fragmenting. He keeps seeing a dark figure beckoning to him up ahead on the road. He's lost all concept of time, of distance, of self. It's just him and Stebbins.
And Stebbins looks completely invincible. He's the major's son, he's the rabbit, he's been eating jelly sandwiches and pacing himself perfectly this whole time.
And then we get the anticlimax.
Which is just brilliant writing.
It really is. There is no dramatic final fight. There is no desperate sprint to a finish line. Stebbins, who seemed literally made of iron, just collapses.
Just drops.
He grabs his chest. It's heavily implied it's massive heart failure or just total systemic exhaustion. He dies on the road. He doesn't even get a ticket from the half track. He just dies.
The rabbit dies exactly like the rest of the dogs.
Exactly. His special lineage didn't save him. His inside knowledge of the walk didn't save him. In the end, he is just another broken body on the asphalt.
So, by default, Gary wins. He is the last boy standing. The half track stops. The major drives up in his fancy Jeep. The prize is right there waiting for him. But the ending, man, this is what everyone who reads this book argues about.
The famously ambiguous ending. Garraty is officially declared the winner. The major comes up to him, touches his shoulder, offers him the world.
But Garraty doesn't even acknowledge the major. He ignores him completely.
He doesn't care about the major anymore.
He sees the dark figure again.
He does. He looks past the major and sees that dark figure waiting ahead of him on the road. Is it a personification of death? Is it the ghosts of McVries and Baker and all the other walkers? Or is it just his own totally shattered mind projecting a new goal because he literally no longer knows how to stop walking?
And the final action of the book. Garraty finds some impossible hidden reserve of strength and he starts to run. He runs toward the dark figure.
Which is the ultimate tragedy of the story. The walk has destroyed him so thoroughly on such a deep psychological level that he cannot stop. The long walk never truly ends for him.
Wow.
Even though he won the game, he has completely lost his mind. He is running toward death because that is the only destination his brain can process anymore. The prize is a total lie because the person who started the race, the boy who could have actually enjoyed that prize, is dead. Only the walking machine remains.
So if we pull back from the plot for a second, what is the core takeaway here? Why do we put ourselves through this meat grinder of a story?
I think it acts as a very harsh mirror. It asks us to look at the rat race of our own everyday lives. The deeply ingrained societal idea that life is just a ruthless competition where the ultimate goal is to outlast everyone else.
Yeah.
It suggests that if you play that competitive game to its absolute logical conclusion, you lose your soul in the process.
It also feels like a really sharp commentary on complicity. The crowds, the spectators screaming for blood. They are us. We are the ones who watch the train wrecks on reality TV or the internet.
Absolutely. Bachman is forcing you, the listener, the reader, to really question your own role as a spectator of suffering. But on a more personal level, it's also a profound study of human endurance.
What keeps us moving when every fiber of our being says stop?
Right. For Garraty, in the end, it wasn't hate that kept him walking. It wasn't logic, and it wasn't the promise of a prize. It was just fear. Pure fear and ingrained habit.
He endured, but he lost absolutely everything to do it.
Precisely. It's a victory that is completely indistinguishable from defeat.
Well, that is definitely a heavy note to end on, but I think a really necessary one for this text. So here is our final thought for you to chew on today as you go about your week. If you were forced onto that road, who would you be? Would you be the one who gives up early when the pain hits, like Curly?
Or the one who fights back with Toxicate, like Barkovich.
Or maybe the cynical observer trying to hold on to humanity, like McVries. Or would you be the one who endures simply because you are just too terrified to stop?
It's a question very much worth asking yourself, even if the honest answer scares you a little bit.
Thanks for walking with us today on The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.
Keep walking.
Bye for now.